Mr. Kenny Powers has been around hot rods his entire life, and he's owned quite a few himself. His last car was the 3rd gen Camaro that ran low 11s in the quarter mile on nitrous. But today, Kenny's getting an opportunity to get behind the wheel of my Malibu and set a new personal best for himself here at Summit Motorsports Park during the Bowtie Nationals. I told Kenny after all the hours he's put in working on Bob's Nova, the least I could do is let him have a little fun himself. Due to the weather forecast all week, the car count's pretty light, so everyone's getting an opportunity to make multiple passes. So Kenny's pretty excited, and if he's nervous, you'd never know it. To watch him in the staging lanes getting the car ready, you'd think he's been racing this car for years. But in reality, it's his first time driving this car at the track. I went up to the starting line with him to film and monitor his procedures just to see how well he handles the car. Although Kenny did a really good job for his first pass in a car he's never driven at the track, there's always room for improvement. That was officially Kenny's first ever 10-second pass. He's been low 11s in his old Camaro when he had it, but he's never been 10s. As far as I know, Kenny's never had any real instruction on how to drive at the track, so he's doing a really good job, all things considered. How was that, KP?
1085, but didn't get the mile an hour for some reason.
Huh, mile an hour didn't work. Your first official 10-second pass. You've been low 11s numerous times.
First time in the 10s.
First time in the 10s. How'd that feel?
Felt great. Hopefully they give us another one in front of nitrous.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you'll get another time trial.
First shift comes quick.
The first shift definitely comes quick. Wait till you put it on nitrous. Then it really comes quick. You shift into second gear right about the tree on nitrous. Maybe a little bit before the tree, so you got to be ready for it. But we might get into some of that tonight if we make it down to Jack's Wax. Before Kenny goes up for another pass, I wanted to teach him how to stage the car properly and be ready for the tree to fall so he has a better shot at cutting a good reaction time. So they just called you up for your second time run. I want you to hop in the car, fire it up, put it in low gear, bring it up on the converter a little bit, and then I want to help teach you to bump. That way you can stage this thing and be ready. Okay, go ahead and put it in low. Now bring it up to about 1600. Now start bumping with your left foot, real gentle. There you go. See, that way you're already up on the converter when you stage, you know what I mean? That makes you much more better prepared for the tree to drop. You ready? Let's go. The best way to get better at driving a drag car is making laps. But the best way to become successful is to make laps using proper procedures. All right, so when you go up and you bump this thing in, I want to work with you a little bit on reaction time. What I always did was I'd turn my top bulb on, make sure I'm ready, right? And then I would take a deep breath and hold it and then bump in. And what that does is it slows down your heart rate a little bit. I taught myself not to exhale until I hit the gas to leave or let go of the button. And what that does is it really helps your concentration to zero in on that third amber. So you're leaving on the last yellow, not the green. If you want to have a good reaction time, you have to hit the gas on the last yellow. Each bulb comes on for half a second, okay? And it typically takes at least a half a second for you to react, for your foot to hit the floor, for the car to actually start moving. It takes a minimum of a half second, sometimes 7/10 of a second. So what you want to do is you want to bump that thing in, take your deep breath if you want to. I mean, this is up to you. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it. I take a deep breath, I bump it in, and I've taught myself not to exhale until I hit the gas or let go of the trans brake. And that really helps you focus in on that last yellow. If you teach yourself you can't exhale until you hit that bulb, nothing else matters, because your body and your mind naturally want to breathe. You know what I mean? So something that you can try if you feel comfortable doing it today. You don't necessarily have to, but you definitely want to try and focus on that last yellow, and the instant it comes on, you hit the gas. Okay? All right. Over the years teaching the kids, I've always found it better to give little bits of information at a time and let them digest it rather than overloading them with too much at once. Once Kenny learns the basics, we can move on to more technical aspects of finish line driving and bracket racing. Kenny's second pass was much better and his reaction time had greatly improved. However, the car is suffering from being terribly inconsistent, which I believe to be due to the throttle cable stretching when Kenny brings it up on the converter. This not only affects his reaction time, but 60-foot and ET as well as mile an hour. Reaction time's much better. However, I think that throttle cable is screwing us.
Yeah, there's something going on with that. It almost felt like it stretched.
Yeah. Feeling better?
Yeah.
Getting more and more comfortable?
That's what, third pass on it? So.
Yeah.
Yep.
You see how that makes you a lot more, I don't know, prepared when you bring it up on the converter and then bump in. It's already up. So then you just focus on that last yellow and hit it. Reaction time was much better. You're going to get better and better as you get more and more comfortable with your routine. You know what I mean? After Kenny's last pass, I ran up to the starting line to catch Bob making his next test pass. Bob uses a trans brake and a delay box, so his routine is a little different than Kenny's. You guys are both getting much more comfortable in the car as every pass you make.
Yeah.
He's looking really good in the Camaro. He's doing a pretty good job. Car's looking really good, Bob.
Thank you.
You guys are both getting more and more comfortable every lap you make in the cars.
Yep.
The car count's low here, but it's been really good for making laps and getting comfortable in the cars. And
Yeah, it's been a great test and tune, actually.
yeah, really.
And but yeah, I mean, this thing is just deadly. I mean, it's just really
Very consistent.
Very consistent. And could have predicted this number pretty close.
What are you thinking, KP? You having a good time?
Oh yeah.
It's kind of nice having a low car count event where you can just make lap after lap after lap and just get comfortable. Like this was kind of perfect for us. So the throttle cable on my Malibu is really causing us some inconsistencies. I noticed that when Kenny just hits the throttle right off an idle, the car goes faster. But if you bring it up on the converter like you need to stage, it slows down. And I think what it's doing is it puts the cable on a little bit of a bind, and then when you go to hit wide open throttle, it won't go. So we're going to have to get something done with that. But for this weekend, we're fine. We're just out here making some laps. It'd be interesting to see what that car goes on nitrous at wide open throttle, because when I stage it at 1500 and then whack the gas pedal, it doesn't make it all the way to the floor. I had to manipulate the wide open throttle switch arm so that it would activate if it even gets remotely close to wide open. But it'd only do it once. And then once it bends the arm, it won't make it the second time. So we'll get something done with that. I've reached out to Doug Cook at Motion Raceworks. He makes a really nice throttle cable for this car. I'm going to order one this week. At this point, I had not yet been to the car show area, so I wandered over to see what all was parked on the spectator side of the track. There were a lot of Chevelles, Camaros, Novas, and even some beautiful Chevy trucks on display. But there was one car that definitely caught my eye, and it wasn't because it had a flashy paint job. Instantly, I recognized this car as what was most likely a clone of the two-lane blacktop 55 Chevy, a car with a cult-like following from a movie about street racing in 1971.
Blow my mind?
Starring in the film was Dennis Wilson and James Taylor. The story focuses on two young men driving a 55 Chevy from California to the East Coast, street racing wherever they can. The movie and the 55 are cult classics with gearheads and one of my favorite movies from my childhood. So you can imagine my surprise when I learned that this car is no clone. It's the real thing, the car actually used in the movie Two-Lane Blacktop. The car still retains all the key ingredients that made it such an icon.
Where's the gas tank at?
But if you look closely, It retained some hidden modifications that allowed the film crew to attach cameras to the car, as well as some of the minor damages that occurred during filming. Now, this car was sold at Barrett-Jackson in Scottsdale, Arizona a few years ago, and as you might expect, there were some key players bidding on the car.
Blacktop, this was the hot rod that was used, or one of several hot rods that was used for the making of that movie.
There were several high-profile bidders. However, there was only one person willing to take the car home and become its caretaker with no concern over what the car was worth or what it would be worth to flip the car and make a profit. The winner was Dave Demingol from, of all places, Cleveland, Ohio.
So if you watch the movie, the opening scene, you'll see everybody wearing this jacket.
Right.
You know. But the jacket, the original jacket I have is the jacket personally given to Jay Wheatley from Big Willie, the president of Street Racers of LA.
Right.
So when they were filming the scene, Big Willie gave the jacket to Jay Wheatley, who was the actual driver of 10’s Blacktop filming the scene. He's a real street racer.
Right.
And then Jay passed away, and Buck passed away, and Buck gave it to the prior owner of the car, who then gave it to me after I got the car. And I just such a cool jacket. I made some copies of it. This is a
That's
copy
awesome.
that I can wear. As the original jacket, I don't want to wear it.
Right.
It's old, plus it won't fit me. I'm too fat, so it won't fit me. So this is like my size.
Dude, this is so cool. So cool. Thank you so much for bringing this car out here. It has been amazing just to sit down and talk with you for a
I
minute.
enjoy it. Having a
Thank
great
you.
time meeting people. It's just been unbelievably great. Yeah. So many people so enthusiastic about this car. It's shocking me. Yeah. Shocking.
I had the opportunity to talk to Dave for almost an hour back in the pits, but unfortunately it's incredibly difficult to record anything at a track with all the noise from the race cars as well as the announcer. So we're going to try and get together soon and do an interview to talk about all the stories about how these cars were built and who built them. Dave shared with me an incredible story about Richard Ruth that Richard shared with Dave in person at Barrett-Jackson when Dave won the car. There is a tremendous amount of intriguing history behind the making of this film that hopefully Dave and I will be able to share with a properly recorded interview sometime in the next few weeks. However, Dave wasn't there at the track just to share stories. He was there to make passes in the 55 as well. So this car has had a major impact on a lot of people's lives, mine especially. A lot of the things that I'm doing today, a lot of the things that my kids and I have been doing for years, maybe would never have happened had it not been for 10’s Blacktop and American Graffiti and this car right here behind me. Shortly thereafter, everyone paused for the playing of the national anthem, and the event was about to kick off with first round of eliminations. After making a couple of passes down the track, Dave took the 55 back to the pit area, and I, unfortunately, had to start making my way back home. In the midst of a conversation that Dave and I were having, I had a text message pop up from my dad.
Well, we got loaded in a hurry.
Yeah, so I was over in the car show area having a really nice conversation with a guy that owns the 10’s Blacktop 55.
Yeah.
He had texted me some photos and sent me his phone number, and I reached for my phone to check it and save his name in my phone.
Yeah.
And I get this alert from my father, your brother is nowhere to be found, I need help.
Uh-oh.
So I try to call my dad, he doesn't answer. I text my dad, he doesn't answer. So I run back to the pit, and poor Bob, he thought I was mad at him. I don't know what Bob was thinking, but Bob thought I was upset with him for some reason. I said, no, my dad's in trouble or something. I don't know what's going on. So we loaded the Malibu up.
Quickly.
And we're on the road. I finally got a hold of my brother. My brother runs up to the farm to check on Dad, and Dad's gotten himself stuck in the front field trying to drill beans in the mud.
Today's video is brought to you today by Dad's Emergency. Not much of an emergency, but someone needed to carry his beans immediately so he could drill in the mud. Which is probably why nobody was up here, because nobody else is out drilling their beans in the mud, but guaranteed we are.
I was 2.5 hours north of the farm at Norwalk when Dad set off the alarm. Without any immediate response from my dad or my brother, I had no choice but to head home.
What's the big emergency? What's the big emergency?
Evidently, Dad needed help carrying bags of seed out to the drill.
See how many things we can drag out here until we are stuck in the mud.
Since we were already a third of the way home when I finally got a hold of my brother, I decided to come back to the shop and get some yard work done while the kids all went down to Trails for the Jack's Wax event that was going on Saturday evening. Kenny got to make one more motor pass in the Malibu before they started the burnout contest out in front of the stands. Overall, everyone had a great time at both events. Kenny got to make multiple 10-second passes. After a long weekend of traveling back and forth to Norwalk and going to Trails for the Jack's Wax event, we were all pretty tired. But eventually, we all got our day started. Unfortunately, the weather today doesn't look very good, so I figure we're mostly going to be working inside today, trying to get Bob's Nova finished up. So I wandered out to the shop to begin taking inventory of everything we need to get finished and what parts we need to finish it. All right, everybody, it's another week. It's time to get going. We've got a lot to get done this week. We've got to get Bob's car finished up, at least as far as the wiring, get the hood put on it, and I'd like for him to be able to see it and drive it. Also, the transmission for the Biscayne is down at Lonnie's at Extreme Automatics, and I talked to him for a few minutes last night. He said the only thing he had left to do was put it on the dyno. He was going to do that today, and as long as everything checks out, it should be good to go. So the Biscayne will be hopefully back together this week. We've got an engine to put in the 64 C10. And let's see, what else is there? Oh yeah, I ordered that throttle cable from Motion Raceworks, and I just got confirmation that it shipped this morning. That was really nice, got a little text message. So that throttle cable's coming for the Malibu. The Malibu, I guess, I really haven't tried to bracket race it or anything for quite a while. Mostly we're just cruising around in it. But that throttle cable situation has gotten so bad now that it won't run the same number twice if it had to, and it's just all over the map. So I'm really kind of excited to see what it runs once we get the throttle wide open. Kenny went 1099 at 116 down there at Trails. So it's hard to tell. Oh yeah, and I forgot, this week is the week leading up to the Speed Promotions race down at Trails. And so it sounds like Billy and Kenny are out back in the news shop working on his S10. Let's go see what they're doing. The S10 needed some new coil packs or something put on. I don't know. I can't remember where we were, but he was having trouble with it breaking up. I don't know. They're back here working on it. What's going on? Does it run now?
Yeah. Want to hear it?
Yeah. Does it sound okay?
Yeah, it hasn't sounded this clean in a while.
Where was it you were at that the coils failed?
Rockingham.
Oh, that's right. I remember that now. Rockingham, Kenny. Rockingham.
Trying to get 200.
Yeah. Does sound a lot better. So what made them go bad? We don't know.
Been on there 2 seasons. One melted.
One melded.
Got another leak on that side, so we just went and replaced all of them.
But did you put the exact same ones back on?
They're made by the same place. The ones were MSD, these are Holly, but they're the exact same.
After checking in with Billy and Kenny out back, I grabbed up my list of parts that we need for Bob's Nova and started making my way down to Buckeye Lake to see Mark. Since Bob's Nova has been converted to a side post battery, I wanted to go down and get some accessory lugs to make it easier to wire up the electric fan.
What are you doing today?
Trying to get Bob's car finished up. We failed miserably at getting it ready for the Bowtie Nationals. It didn't make it there.
Oh.
I got a transmission problem.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I got to dig into that at some point. I need these so I can do the wiring for the fan, and yeah, so
saw the Camaro did all right.
The Camaro flies.
That thing was getting it.
950 to 142, and it's got a tight converter in it that doesn't really even work for the combination.
Ooh, that was impressive.
I'm going to get me a set of those heads for my Malibu.
Oh, I bet you are.
Mark dug through his archives back there and found me the battery lugs I needed so that Kenny and I can move forward with getting the wiring finished up and getting the hood put back on Bob's car. Once we had everything pretty well finished up topside, it was time to put the car up on the lift and get started working on the transmission issue underneath. I called Dion up at Vickers Performance Transmissions and asked him for some advice on what we should check on this transmission. He immediately told me you need to drop the pan and check the pressure regulator valve to make sure it's seated properly and not stuck. After checking it out, Kenny and I put the car back together and hoped for the best on the test drive. So we got a little issue here with the generator lights on. Not sure what that's about. We'll have to look into that, but gauges work, fans working. I think we're ready to take it up the road here. Shifter feels good. All right. For some reason, the charging system light's on in the dash. We'll have to look into that when we get back. I know the alternator's charging because I checked that, but the light's on in the dash.
Wires that used to go to the alternator.
I don't know. We'll have to look at that when we get back. You okay?
Yeah, floor mount's gonna drive me nuts.
Shifter feels really good. Shifter feels really good. 150 degrees. Oil pressure's good. Brakes feel good. Brakes feel real good. All right, here we go. There's second gear. Third gear. The speedometer's not working. The cable must not be long enough. There, it just went into overdrive. That all feels good. That transmission shifts a hell of a lot better. All I did was push on that pressure regulator valve. Maybe I broke it loose or something.
Freak something up.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna try it. It definitely feels like it shifts better in drive. You ready?
Yep.
Hey, it shifted! It's fixed! Holy crap! It's fixed, Kenny! That pressure regulator valve must have been just stuck. Thank God. Now we don't have to pull the transmission back out. Let's go get some gas. I was so excited that transmission worked properly when we took it for the test drive because it's a 2.5-hour drive one way to take the transmission back up to Dion. Sometimes when you're working on cars like this, you take one step forward and two back. But thankfully, with some good advice from Dion, the line pressure issue in my old 700 R4 was a relatively easy fix. Bob's old 73 Nova drives so nice, I could have driven it all evening. But during the test drive, the rain started to move in. So Kenny and I took the Nova directly back to the shop to pull it inside and get it dried off. Now that we've got the 400 small block installed, the 700 R4 transmission, as well as the new Strange 9-inch rear end, the only thing we have left to do now is put the Strange Hot Boy brakes on the front and put the cow tracks on the rear. Of course, there's a few little odds and ends left on the punch-out list, but for the most part, the car is almost ready to go to Bob's. Not too bad.
Nope.
I'm so glad we don't have to pull a transmission back out of this thing.
Me too.
Well, what do you say we pull it in, throw it up on the rack and check for leaks, just kind of go over it. And we need to look into that light on the dash, the charging light. But really, other than that, this thing's pretty solid.
She ain't gonna have any leaks.
You don't think so?
No.